Back in the building again, buddies. Good to see you. It's Concert Buddy. Back here with another installment of my series of videos called Record Store Road Trip. This time I wasn't in my car or rental or on the highways. Kind of was on the highways, but actually was in those steel planes that take us to and from. Took an airplane, Pacific Northwest style, to the state of Washington, specifically Seattle and Seattle proper. And then also went to Tacoma, Washington while I was there, but that'll be the next installment. Call it tease. Of course, you're here to find out what I brought back home with me in the way of that sweet, sweet wax, some good records, grails, all that stuff. So cue that lever and we will get into it now. Buddies, I'm fresh off of a terrific vacation my family and I took to Seattle, state of Washington, and even Tacoma, which, tease, I'll talk about in the next video. Wow. We did all the touristy stuff. We went to the Space Needle. We went to the Pop Culture Museum. We went to the aquarium. We went to the Pike Market area, the first Starbucks. We went to... This is going to be pretty morbid, but we were there. We went to the Kurt Cobain house where he ended his life. I know, my son wanted to go there. We went to the Jimi Hendrix graveside memorial. We went to the Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee graveside. One of my heroes, Bruce Lee. Be like water. It's great words of advice. But you know, anytime I travel, I've got to hit up record stores. Just have to. I want to sample and see what these communities have in the way of deep digging records, things that are regional only, things that I will never see in my normal haunts or my normal Midwest travels. And Seattle did not disappoint when it comes to that. Did I find any of my grails per se? I didn't. My son was very excited. He's into record collecting now. He found a lot of stuff he was looking for, blew through his budget literally the first place we went. Good for him. So we set up the scholarship fund that I am slowly being paid back on as I speak. But I'd still found some pretty good records, things I was happy to add to the collection, things I'd never seen before. So that's really kind of the excitement. And Seattle has a bounty, a litany, a ton of good record stores. I didn't hit them all, but I hit the ones that I'd heard about or things that places that had been referred to me. If you saw my previous video, I kind of alluded to some of the folks I made a point to meet up with when I was out there. Norman Masloff, Mazzy, invited us into his home. We did a whack-a-mole. And on the way out the door, he gave us some recommendations, some other shops to hit up. So thank you for that, Mazzy. And even when we were in Tacoma, Harry's Music Room, great host. He took us in his own vehicle. He literally was driving us up and down the road, taking us to shops that, quite frankly, I probably wouldn't have been able to find. They're very kind of off the beaten path. But like I said, we'll get into that video next time. Seattle proper, so many record stores, some really good record stores. We started the trip actually, literally, plane touches down. We had an early flight, headed to a record store to start just because it was already open, and that's Easy Street Records. Easy Street Records is probably one of the more famous record stores in the Seattle area. They do a lot of in-store performances. Pearl Jam famously has played there. I think recently Macklemore premiered his new album and did an in-store there as well. What I'll say about Easy Street before I show you what I picked up was one of my favorite record stores that I've been to for a couple of reasons, not because of what I found, but I can see that they get a lot of really cool records. It was well curated, particularly the used section. The used section is predominantly upstairs. It's also kind of intermingled in the bottom area too. We actually went there twice. We went on the first day we were there, and then when we were leaving Seattle proper. And there's a reason for that. It's because they have a cafe in this record store. So you can grab a nice breakfast, tasty lunch, whatever you feel like doing while you're shopping for records. Plus, the people were just extremely nice. Gave us even, I think, a discount on our first purchase when we were there. We spent a decent amount of money. Again, my son's buys more than me. But, I've seen in these lists over and over again, Easy Street being like a top 10 record store in the country, and I can totally see it. Totally makes a lot of sense. So like I said, it's not because of what I necessarily bought this time, but just a fun shop, well curated. They had some really rare pieces on like the Wall of Wow, Holy Moly Wall, whatever you want to call it. I don't think they've exactly branded it themselves. They had like early Suicidal Tendencies stuff. I saw a Donna's record. I saw a Rollins Band European only record, like really cool stuff. Not necessarily stuff I was like, chomping at the bit to get, but when it comes to what I bought, let me show you.
I'm here to collect.
At Easy Street, I found a record that apparently is very scarce, at least right now. This will probably come back into stock and will be in stock for a while. But this is, I don't know if you're familiar with this book or this series on Amazon. It's called Daisy Jones and the Six. It's a very Fleetwood Mac inspired type of story. It stars Elvis Presley's granddaughter, Riley Keough, I believe is her name. And this album is actually of the music from the series. It's called Aurora. David Bianco, Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. That's a mouthful. Had kind of tipped me off about how hard it was to kind of track this record down, particularly the indie store exclusive blue pressing. And I like the challenge accepted part of when I hear people are looking for records and can't find them. And I've got a nice online network that I've kind of set up over the years of stores I know I can check. And David was right, could not find this record anywhere. So we're at Easy Street and found this record. I guess it was back in stock. Picked one up for David. If you've seen one of his latest videos, I sent him some VCLT. My wife even canceled her Amazon exclusive pre-order because she wanted to get on the blue train, which I don't blame her. So it's pretty nice color execution. Kept mine in shrink, of course, hype stickers, all that good stuff. But sadly, this is the only record I bought at Easy Street. It's not for, again, it's a well-curated shop, but a lot of the stuff I already had. And it's kind of the catch-22 about when you start amassing a sizable collection is that you have a lot of this stuff. Doesn't mean you don't admire and be like, oh, that's really cool that, like I said, some early Suicidal Tendency stuff's there. Maybe some stuff that's cool, but maybe just doesn't strike the need. Plus, this was our first stop, so I wanted to be very measured and intentional because we had only brought a couple of cardboard corrugate boxes, maybe could haul 10 to 15 records tops, and I'll tell a story about that later. But anyway, Easy Street hooked it up here. Happy to add this to the collection.
Who told you you can eat my cookies?
So the next shop I went to is one that Harry and Mazzy had both told me in advance was probably one of the best for used vinyl, which is right in my wheelhouse. And it's called Daybreak Records. Daybreak is, it's a shop that's kind of, I guess it's a former gas station. It's a very unique space. It reminds me of a couple places here in St. Louis, not necessarily record stores, but like restaurants and stuff where they've repurposed the building into a new function, which I thought was real cool. Fortunately, you could park actually in there a lot, but other than that, parking looked like a beast. So I think if that lot's full, it may be a challenge to kind of go there. But as advertised, really, despite being small in stature, it was big in curation. What I mean by that is they had a lot of really cool pieces that I don't see that often or I've never seen at all. And although I only pulled 2 records that I'm about to show here shortly, like I highly recommend checking out Daybreak if you're in the area, mainly because a lot of this wax, and Mazzy and Harry both confirmed this as well, meticulous condition, like really strong condition. I don't know how long the shop's been around. I can tell, and again, this is a very like internet thing only, but they have a very high ranking on Yelp. I think they have like 78 reviews, like 5-star reviews. So I think what I'm saying, I'm not alone in this sentiment. That said, I only picked up 2 records. Let me show them to you real quick. The first one is a Ryan Adams record I actually didn't have. This is Ashes and Fire on his Pax Am label. This is a crazy hard to find record, but I think it's currently out of print. I know he's kind of on tour right now, and I know there's a lot of polarizing opinions about him, but kind of keep it to the music. And I love like albums like Gold. My favorite Ryan Adams record, and you're probably going to laugh at me in the comments, is a record he did just a few years ago called Prisoner. It's kind of like a Tom Petty inspired 80s kind of throwback album. I like love it. Like love. Probably one of my favorite albums in the last 5 years. But like I said, this album, Ashes and Fire, is one I did not have. And reasonable price, I think this was like $15. So it was a good score, good price. I was happy to bring this one in. And then the first record I actually saw, I probably should have showed these in different order, is a record I've never seen before. I've seen it online. This is actually DJ Jazzy Jeff. I'm sorry, the Magnificent DJ Jazzy Jeff in this case, because that's what this album's called. This is a European-only pressing. I've actually seen DJ Jazzy Jeff. Actually, I took a date, a friend of mine, one time to a club gig that he was spinning at. We actually were right up on the DJ table just watching him work. That's awesome. As a kid of the 80s and 90s, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince was one of my early entries into hip-hop. And yeah, now if you kind of look back, some would say it's kind of corny, but still, it holds up. I think it's still quality work. And DJ Jazzy Jeff is a legend when it comes to the DJ culture. He still, is out there doing spin sets and all that kind of stuff. From Philly, still repping Philly in his album. This is a 2-discer. Came with like some inserts and all kinds of stuff. And like I said, Daybreak, as advertised, like really great condition stuff. So I think this might have been like an $18 record. I mean, again, not breaking the bank, but for things you've never seen before, like this is totally the time to strike. And again, with a limited volume available in my box, this felt like the right time to bring this home to St. Louis.
I feel good. Jam!
All right. So you're probably saying, oh, are you showing me a Tommy Two-Tone record, Chance, concert buddy? Well, it's simple. I went to a record store called Sonic Boom, next on our record store crawl in Seattle. And this was actually a record I didn't have. This shop was really well curated. Also, nice used selection. Anytime I'm in a new shop, first thing I try to find out, radar goes right to the new arrivals. And they had some nice new arrivals. Again, I had a lot of the stuff. But this was something I didn't have. And even talking with my wife and son, like they have seen this record before. For some reason, it just never was on my radar. And so I pulled this one. Obviously, this has one of the greatest one-hit wonder songs of all time, 8675309. You're kind of thinking it already. Jenny, 80s staple.
Check out.
But like I said, I didn't have this. This was a $5 record, not a big hook, but something that, I don't know, I was just inspired to pull. And again, like my limited size and limited shipping availability, bringing home with me, I still felt like this was the time. Sonic Boom's a really nice store. The area, at least my half-hour observation, is probably better to traverse during the daytime. But the folks working there couldn't have been nicer. Decent selection of new vinyl and used, like I said. A lot of really cool box sets. And this is not the trip to get a box set. I've done that before on a trip, and it was just so cumbersome that it had to be something I absolutely needed. It was actually the Metallica Kill 'Em All box set. It was a used one from Amoeba San Francisco. And man, it was a beast to just manage, bring back with me, pack, like hold in my arms practically on the plane so it didn't get damaged. So when I travel, it's got to be just like a box set that I'll probably never see again, or I know is out of print or what have you. Anyway, Sonic Boom, cool shop. Would recommend it if you're in the area. And again, not a really rare piece, but something I was geeked about adding to the collection. So after we left our wonderful visit with Norman Maslow, he kind of sent us off with a couple of other shop recommendations. One was one I was kind of lukewarm about trying out, but he kind of affirmed it's a solid place. And the other one was actually going to be near where we were actually grabbing lunch at this burger stand called Dick's. Is like kind of like a throwback, sock hop walk up, burger shake, fry kind of thing. I will say I was very interested to see that Seattle has a large soda tax. And soda is one of my, vices. So to be taxed for large soda consumption was different, but I digress. So while we were right next to the burger place, we went to a record shop literally right next door called Goldie Oldies. I really like the branding on the bag. It was a nice touch. Kind of like what I would call like a throwback record store. It's, just a record store, right? Like they've got tapes, they've got vinyl, they've got new arrivals, they've got, it's curated in a way it's like a lot of everything. And I found some stuff in there, even their wall of Wow, Holy Moly wall, whatever, had some really interesting pieces. It had a kind of blue early pressing. I think it was the 2i, or I think it was a 2i, Columbia 2i, or maybe 6i. Anyway, it was like the 1959 kind of blue first press, rough shape, but some other stuff too, some jazz stuff, some black jazz, Doug Karn on the wall. It was interesting as a lot of the placards were like homemade. They were like corrugate cutouts, and it said like Aerosmith or AC/DC or, you know, Fleetwood Mac or whatever. So it's just about the records, which was really cool, and I kind of like that. And it's a place I like to like really spend a lot of time in and dig. Again, I pulled just a couple records. I'll show them to you right here. So the first place at Golden Oldies I really kind of locked my fingers in was the jazz section. And I'm really kind of making it a point this year to get into the work of Clifford Brown. He was a trumpet player that was tragically killed in a car accident. First was recommended Clifford Brown stuff, and as I've been kind of getting my fingers in the minutia of his catalog, it's actually really cheap stuff for the most part to kind of track down. This is actually a Japanese repress. MRC Records. I think that was the original label, and again, Japanese. No obi, so it's missing the obi, but I think I got this for like a song for less than like $15. Something, you know, again, anytime I'm the last person who should be giving jazz advice, but here's a little nugget of what I will say is if it's something you're interested in, look at all the players on there, and if you see a lot of similar names, in this case, I see guys like Sonny Rollins on sax, Max Roach on drums. Max Roach and Clifford Brown had this kind of like a let's call it Steven Tyler, Joe Perry type relationship, where like a lot of Clifford Brown's best stuff, Max Roach was on drums, and Max Roach is like a famous jazz drummer if you didn't know. Anyway, they had a lot of other Clifford Brown stuff, like super cheap, but this unfortunately it's kind of the perils of traveling with records. If I was driving and I had the space in my car, would have been a no-brainer. I would have picked a lot of these $10, $15, $20 records with me, but I had to kind of pick and choose, and like I said, when I looked at the other records and the folks on this record, kind of made this one that I wanted to bring back with me. And then the one I was kind of super excited about that I'd never seen in flesh before was this banger from Tesla. This is Mechanical Resonance, and it has, I think the biggest hit on this is Easy Come, Easy Go. Like, I won't say cheesy, but like 80s, 90s hair metal type stuff. Really excellent condition. I mean, sharp corners, just beautiful. And, you know, these of the time period, the originals, it's hard to find them in really good shape because they were played a lot. So the record's usually scratched. The jackets are beat to shit. They've got splits, tears, what have you. But this one is like a gem condition. So I had to bring this. So Golden Oldies, guy couldn't have been the guy. I think the guy who was working there is probably the owner. I didn't ask too many questions. We just had a very brief talk at the counter. But it's a shop that, if you're in the area, if you're getting a burger at the Dick's Burger Stand, just walk on over. Well worth your time.
I love hot dogs.
Next one was called Jive Time. Nice logo here. Again, I like it when they have their own branding. I always think that's a lot of fun. A lot of record stores, and this is no judgment, will have like the paper bags with their logo like stamped on there. That's no big deal. I thought this was pretty cool, so I'm probably going to keep this in my bag collection. Isn't it weird that not only do I have a record collection, but I have a record store bag collection? A couple really cool pieces. Let me show you. So I got 2 records at Jive Time, and the first one is a record from, again, dating myself here. Think about The Real World, the show on MTV, one of the really, I call it the grandfathers of this reality TV movement that we kind of live in now. The Real World was a show where they took, I think it was 6 or 7 strangers, taped to live in a house. They, filmed them interacting. They sometimes gave them projects to do, etc. Google it if you're interested. But one of the stars of that first season was a gal named Heather, or specifically Heather B., who actually was an aspiring hip-hop artist. So I've never seen any of Heather B's stuff, particularly in my area. So when I saw this at Jive Time, not an expensive record. This is something that still has a price sticker on one of the discs. I think this is a 2-discer. Just kind of a fun pickup, something again like I never would have seen before, something I probably will never see again. I have, I guess, a fondness to The Real World and what that meant for me and for the reality boom that I just mentioned. But this one's called Eternal Affairs. I haven't listened to it yet. I don't know. I mean, it may have some ridiculously great beats on here, and then I'll really enjoy it. But for nostalgia and for, I'm traveling, let's have fun, seemed like a no-brainer. And then, interesting piece that I picked up is from, this is a reissue. First of all, it's on a reissue label called Light in the Attic Records, which is based in Seattle. And you can find a lot of their stuff in your local stores. They are popular for doing a lot of reissues. I think most notably the Sixto Rodriguez stuff, Cold Fact, and the second record, whose name escapes me. But they reissued those. They've done a lot of other reissues. They do color variants, etc. So this record is called Outbreak. This is from Homeboy and the COL. And we've got this Juicy Booty on there. And what's interesting about this is, if you recall, if you're a frequent watcher of the Concert Buddy YouTube channel, I featured this record not too long ago. I found this, a used copy in Columbia, Missouri at Hitrex Records. This was a Record Store Day exclusive that I think Tidal Waves Music put this out. But this is what first brought this artist to my radar, because this is apparently was a private press, like early 80s, mid 80s type of like hip hop dance type of stuff. And it was something that I kind of wanted, but I kind of wanted to get it at a cheap price, and Hitrex made it happen. So I just had a little bit of subject matter expertise or understanding, I won't call it expertise, about this artist. So coming back to this record, this just got reissued, I want to say within the last month or two. And if you go on Amoeba's website right now, they have a used original copy for like $600. I think it's sealed, in fairness, but $600. So I saw that not too long ago, so I knew that I probably would never own an original of this record. And wouldn't you know, I'm in this record store. It's there. I'm there. I've got money to spend, and it had a new home coming to St. Louis. So, again, just another fun type of record to add. This may be something that I may put on my turntable and it sounds like butt juice. And in that case, we'll see what happens. But for fun, keeping it different, and for a little bit of the story that I kind of told you, would you rather pay $600 for a sealed original of something you don't know, may or may not like, or I think this was like $28? Be smart. Play chess, not checkers, folks. So the last record store that we hit up in Seattle proper was another Norman Masloff recommendation, and this was a record store called Royal Records. Wasn't on my original list. I hadn't done a ton of research into it. I don't even know if I remember the name when he mentioned it in our conversation, but he was kind enough to send me a link to it. We made the time to go to the store, and I'm glad I did, because Royal Records, another well-curated used shop. The new arrivals was like overflowing with really cool stuff. A lot of it I already had. Some stuff really excited me, but again, I just couldn't take it all. Couldn't take all the children with me. But I did find some really cool stuff. First thing I found was this beauty. Al Green, Let's Stay Together. I mean, come on. You want to talk about classic soul music, and it's on the High Records label. Now, my Discog research has told me that this is not maybe the first, but it's a pretty early pressing. And this thing, they had it graded at near mint, and anytime a record store uses that near mint nomenclature, branding, grading, got to be skeptical, right? I've talked about this on the channel before. Maybe it's an excellent grade or something like that, but near mint is like basically brand new. But this is like super duper clean, like almost can eat off of it kind of stuff. And as you can see, the exception of a little bit of ring wear there, really great shape. But right next to it was another Al Green record that I had to bring back. Didn't have it in the collection. Probably familiar with this one. I'm Still in Love with You. It has Love and Happiness on it. What a great song. It's on Motown. Just for the album jacket alone, my man sitting in this wicker chair, just looking good. Reverend Al looking just cool and fly as hell. I mean, come on. But the fact that this record was literally right behind that other Al Green Let's Stay Together record, maybe I was assuming, jumped to conclusions, but maybe this came in as part of the same collection. So I kind of felt pulled to keep the boys together. And so had to add these to my stack. And then the last record I pulled from Royal Records wasn't an expensive one, but it was something that I've played since I've been home, and it's really, really cool. And let me show you that one right now. Part of this is a very old record. This is JJ Inc. This is JJ Johnson Sextet, and it's got some really, really good players. Clifford Brown is on this one. Oh, where's the list of these dudes? Yeah, so we've got Clifford Jordan on sax. We've got Freddie Hubbard on trumpet. I'm sure if you know even a little bit of jazz, you know Freddie's a serious player. But a couple of things stuck out on this title to me. One, I had been kind of clued in to J.J. Johnson recently and how good he was, so the name stuck with me. Two, this is an original Columbia. This is a 6-eye press. Boop, 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 boop. Let me hold it the right way so it won't fall out. But you know what the fun part is, folks? This is the nerdness of record collecting. Did you see this guy? For demonstration use only. And it even has a stamped on the jacket. Demonstration, not for sale. So stuff like that just instantly makes it like super cool to me. I did have to perform some seam split surgery. You know, I'm a professional record jacket repairer. I don't know if you've seen my previous work, my previous videos talking about this, but you know, when I get a patient like this that clearly has seen better days,
Oh, gnarly!
I don't want to throw them into the trash pile of record jackets gone away. I don't want to be judgmental and not bring these wayward records into my collection. No, I want to give them new life. And, you know, like a nice plastic surgeon, I added, redid the seams on these so I could bring this back to my collection. Now, side note, when I do stuff like this, I will never grade a jacket higher than VG at this point because obviously I've done work to it. But what a cool piece. And I gotta be honest, two things. One, this sounds incredible. This is a smoker of an album. Like from start to finish, it's just fire, straight heat. My kind of jazz I love listening to. Just boom, 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 boom. Yeah, man, you're just making dinner. You're just tapping that foot, feeling good. And these dudes were on fire. Like the fire department was probably in the room next door. Second thing is it's not very expensive. This is like I said, an original copy. I paid $30 for it, which is probably maybe a little bit more than I needed to, but I'm on vacation. I'd never seen this before, blah, blah, blah. So it's easy to track down. I'd say easy to track down. This is an affordable copy if you can find it online at your locals, etc. But I'm telling you, this thing is, I mean, you need to have, I wish I had the oven mitts. I need the oven mitts right now. I'm probably going to have third-degree burns on my hands just from holding this thing because it is so hot, 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 hot. But anyway, I was happy to add this to the collection. Buddies, that's it. That is the Seattle breakdown. You'll notice I didn't leave this video off saying this is going to be a short video. You know why? Because I knew that this was like a big, fat quadruple cheeseburger full of record store stories and deliciousness that I wanted to share with you, and also share my experiences with you. If you're ever in the Seattle area, hit as many of these record stores as you can. There were several that we didn't get to hit. Georgetown Records, I think, was one of them. I'm thinking at top of mind. But Seattle's got a ton of record stores, a really great music history from the grunge movement to just so many different artists. Jimi Hendrix are from the Seattle area. So cool. Anyway, next video coming up in the series will be probably right behind this is talking about my Tacoma finds, a lot of fun stuff there. But until then, buddies, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you guys. I sincerely appreciate you guys. But until then, if you get the chance to travel, go to some record stores, record shows, play your records, all that stuff, just spin it. See ya.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
Well, we out of time.